Welcome to Go South Outdoors, and thanks for joining us to find your outdoors. If you watched part 1 of our Guatemala man trip episode, you'll recall that David Gross had promised to deliver a first place finish again this year. But will he be able to do it? And as for me, my first 2 days were among the worst bill fishing I'd ever experienced. So on day 3, I was sure hoping that if Lady Luck had abandoned David, maybe she'd find me. So as I boarded the Spindrift, along with John Harrison and Dr. Craig Dawkins, I was praying for better luck. We knew we had the right boat and crew, but would the fish cooperate? We headed out into a stiff wind and rougher seas, but it seemed that the bite had finally turned on when, after trolling for 2 hours, I was fighting a nice sail. Watching it leap as I fought it to the boat with its iridescent sail fully extended in the air is truly a beautiful sight. I fought the fish to the boat where the mate wired it and quickly released it. I'd barely caught my breath when minutes later I was fighting a second one. The action was finally heating up.
Yeah, that color, oh my gosh. Awesome.
2.5 days, and then finally,
Two back to back.
Two back to back.
You hog. I love it.
Pushed me out of the way on 2 fish.
Okay, we had 3 days. Finally, I get a sail that didn't spit the hook, and then a few minutes later, 2 sails. A good day, man trip.
Though his first time in Guatemala, Dr. Craig Dawkins had been fishing offshore for the best part of his life. Craig had fished with us in Costa Rica the previous year and got his fair share of the billfish. His experience in fishing in rough seas came in handy too.
This game.
Woo! What do you say about that, huh?
There's nothing like the excitement of nature and us at the interface. It's a fun thing. This is like, we're blessed to be able to do this kind of stuff. And it's so great to see such a magnificent creature released to fight another day.
While the fight is always great, many times it's hard to relax and truly enjoy it, knowing that one little slip, letting slacken the line, and you can lose the fish in the blink of an eye. But once that leader hits the tip of the rod or the mate grabs it, I always breathe a sigh of relief.
It's after a long day of fishing. We finally hooked up. It's my turn. It is so much fun to catch a big fish. Well, it's so much fun to fight a fish. I hadn't caught it yet.
Suddenly Harrison is on fire. This is his second one. 20 minutes.
I'm doing a prank. He's not in yet. He's still taking line, too. I'm like 1 foot away from a caught fish here. It's been a long day. About 12:30 p.m. The seas have been really rough all day long. Crew's done a magnificent job. Frank started us off early with a couple of quick sails in about 5 minutes between release of the first one and hooking up the second one. Just a few minutes after Frank caught the second one, Dr. Dawkins caught one. Then about a 3-hour lull, no fish for me. Finally, I hook up. Beautiful fish, great crew, good to be on the Pacific. ManTrip.
Our team went on to catch 6 more sails for a daily total of 8. Not the 74 that Spindrift had released in one day the previous year, but better than we had been doing. Before we continue, we should comment on some of the other anglers' efforts. On the first couple of days of this trip, some of the guys cave fly fishing a shot. Typically this time of year, it's not unusual to get double-digit releases on fly, but with a lazy bite, it proved pretty tough. So on the last day, Reed Geis switched from fishing on fly to hook up a nice blue marlin, the only marlin of this trip. Good job, Reed. So at the start of the third and final day of fishing, David Gross was at a 6-fish deficit and things were looking pretty tough. Can he pull off a first place finish as he promised? Let's go see. Well, on the last day, David Gross finally had a little luck and finished by releasing 3 sailfish. A good day, but not nearly enough to take the lead. In his defense, it was tough to catch his prior year's total of 5 sails plus a blue and a striped marlin. But bad luck was not his only problem on this trip. Rumors had begun to circulate that maybe there could be a problem with his prior year's win, and some of the ManTrip group were not shy about speaking up about their suspicions.
What do you say about David Gross's prowess as a fisherman? He is clever, resourceful, quick-witted, a very good strategist, but at the basic end of things, he cheats. He cheats on the rod.
I was very glad to see that David Gross came nowhere near the point totals necessary to win any type of Calcutta money. In fact, it was an embarrassment what he did. And I think it really brings into question whether he should be on future trips.
So would you tend to say that his win last year was a fluke or due to angular prowess?
Well, you know, there's a dirty little secret that I don't know ever came to light, but I actually gave him one of my marlin last year. Because even though I had touched the leader, I started blacking out on the back of a boat and handed over the rod to Gross. I think he actually counted it as his fish. So we'll bring into question his winning of last year's Calcutta.
So the rumors from yesterday were verified, sadly. David Gross did receive a fish from someone else, did not disclose it, which violates the Calcutta rules. Therefore, it is required that he forfeit the Calcutta money from last year. We intend to turn this over to the authorities and process him the fullest extent of the law, including perhaps kidnapping him from Islamorada, bringing him back home to Gulfport for discipline.
Now, every angler encounters those trips when things just don't go well. But the thing I really like about the ManTrip group is the mature way in which they handle these sort of setbacks. Here's David Gross.
My comments would just not be suitable for regular television. So let's just suffice to say,
In the battle to win the Calcutta, by day 3, David Gross was out of the running, leaving David Shoemake and Denton Gibbs in a battle for first place. Now, these guys are serious competitors, willing to do whatever it takes to win, as you'll soon see.
So going into day 3, David Shoemake and I were neck and neck in the points total for number of fish caught, type of fish. And day 2 was pretty rough out there in terms of the seas. Knew day 3 was going to be even rougher. Strangely, David and I ended up on the same boat. And we had a good day despite having, 6 to 7 foot seas. We caught 14 sails, but the best part of it, we kind of ended up in a shootout yesterday afternoon. And with 5 minutes to spare, I hooked up.
He called himself the watch keeper. Everybody else's watch had this tournament already over. I already won the money. But seeing how he paid the guide a little extra money to run 4 extra minutes, he got to catch 1 more fish than me and beat me out of my money. Now I have to move to Jackson because I don't have any more money. So I'm going to live with Denton until we eat up that $1,200 that he stole from me because he is the watch keeper. And I cannot ever let him be the watch keeper ever again because it's all about winning that money, and he stole it with 4 extra minutes. $100, he paid $100 for 12. Pretty good business, but I got smoked, and I hates it. I hates it.
So David Shoemake added another 3 to bring his trip total to 11 sails. But Denton Gibbs finished the day by releasing 5 more sails, bringing his trip total to 10 and putting him in first place at the finish, with Dave Shoemake right behind in second. The ManTrip group total for this last day was 1 blue marlin and 35 sails released, more than the previous 2 days combined. This brought our trip total to 60 sails and 1 blue marlin, along with a dozen or so mai-mai. Not such a bad trip. Welcome back to Go South Outdoors. And we're back here again with our good friend Tim Bennett. Tim, what's going on at Conference USA? We're getting pretty close.
Man, hard to believe. We've been doing this week in and week out for several months. You work so hard and it comes down to the last 2 weeks. Getting exciting, but I tell you what, you take a look at the standings in Conference USA this year. It's been tight all year, but you got to take your hat off to Scott Berry. He's done a great job with this team of his. He's just a great coach.
Yeah, and he's 1 win away from his 300th, and from the looks of things, it's going to happen pretty quick.
I tell you, the way this team has been playing is phenomenal. Last week they sweep against UAB, and UAB is no slouch. They're no pushover. They've been a good team all year. But looking at their pitcher, we had our guy West put some numbers together on Nick Sandlin. 32 innings with no earned runs.
Wow.
A shutout against UAB in the sweep last weekend. 4-time Conference Player of the Week. So, the scouts have got to be really looking at him. I think we're going to see a lot of scouts at the games coming up with Conference USA. And he done a great job last year from a pitching standpoint. You got to enjoy having a player like that on your roster, along with some other great pitchers, not taking the credit from them. It's been a complete team effort all year. Luke Reynolds has been phenomenal from day one. A lot of times you see these players, they'll start in, they'll have a great first 10, 15, 20 games, and they hit a cold streak. This guy just kept it going year in, day game, night game, weekend game. He's just pushed his way through. Got to appreciate that. And we're supposed to be non-biased here. We're supposed to want to have a great tournament. But it's hard to be non-biased when you got a guy like Scott Berry that's done a fabulous job. His assistant, Chad Kaye, who I've known for a number of years. For that organization, for that school to not have as much turnover as you've seen in so many other conferences, the SEC. You look at Ole Miss.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, you got turnover at the coaching position. But that consistency seems to be paying off for USM. And they came so close last year. We're going to see exactly how close they can come this year, if not take the whole thing.
Well, let's hope they continue to do well, Tim. Thanks a lot for being here. While we all want an island getaway, sometimes we want paradise in our own backyard. And after being out of the country for a while, a juicy all-American burger sounds pretty good. Well, when we come back, from the catch of the kitchen, we'll go to one of our favorite coast spots, the Blind Tiger. It's like going to the Bahamas for the afternoon, but no passport required or plane ticket.
Here we are in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, where the original Blind Tiger opened in 2013. What we're going to show you all today is keeping it simple and keeping it fresh. We're going to show you some of our mainstay items that are on the chalkboards daily. We have the homemade French fries. People ask us daily, where do you buy your French fries? And the answer to that question is very simple. We don't buy our French fries. We buy potatoes. So we take the potatoes and we cut them, we soak them in water, we blanch them, then we fry them. When we blanch them, we fry them first for like 30 seconds, let them cool. Then we refry them when customers order them. The reason we soak the French fries is to help get the starch off of them once you shred them. So we soak them in water 4, 5, 6 hours, take them out, you par fry them, which allows the finished French fry to be crispier. So we par fry the French fries and then we fry them to order when the customer orders them. Our hamburgers, proprietary ground meat blend that we have. It's got brisket and short rib in it, high quality ground meat. We patty those up into 8-ounce patties or 8-ounce balls, smash them on the homemade burger press. When you don't press the burger and you don't compact the meat, they puff up and they come back into a ball shape. We have a grill sauce. We grill them off to order. And I'm sure everybody at home, everybody makes homemade hamburgers. They start off the size of the bun and then they finish half the size of the bun. And then it's like, what happened to my cheeseburger? It's 4 inches now. That's why. You have to press them out flat. You have to get a little pressure on them. And finish them with whatever cheese the customers want. Sometimes we add different toppings to them. It's a half a pound of fresh, never frozen ground meat. It has short rib and brisket in it, which helps it hold its form on the grill.
Thanks for joining us this week for another great episode of Gulf South Outdoors. Join us next week to find your outdoors.
I'm very happy to be here this year, and very ancient.
The hook must not have been set right due to, I think it's a cockpit problem, not of my own making, and the fish just got off.
That was our experience. We saw it was very safe.
Okay. Start again.
Come on.